We represent for the culture.
The Filipinos love 95.7.
Exactly.
It's not just us. They love the entire station.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, come on.
All right, let's go to Richie.
And we got a Pasoy problem in the clubhouse.
Richie in Queens. Richie, what's happening?
That guy.
Hey, bye. Hey, guys, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Boy, I'm just trying to analyze this game, and I'm thinking about certain points during the season, how things change. I think the Niners were going such an incredible pace, and then they hit that Raven game. Not been as dominant since then. Really fought to win those two games. I thought they'd be a little easier to get through. Then about the KC, how bad they were considered 4 or 5 games ago. They couldn't hold on to a pass. They had no receivers. They got beat up by the Raiders on Christmas. And you look at what they are now, and you just say, well, who gets the edge at this point? You know, I think it's going to come down to with the Niners. I really feel that a big part of the game is going to have to be Samuel and McCaffrey, especially with the quick passes. I think those two guys can make big plays, big yardage plays out of small little receptions. I think that's going to be a big part of it. Plus, Spagnuolo has been phenomenal defensively in these kind of games. So, and Jones and McDuffie have been really, really good defensively as cornerback. So, you know, it's really going to be a really interesting game. It should be a good game. You know, we've talked about Purdy. I've called in the past. My feeling is got tuned into you guys because, like I said, the East Coast football was horrendous this year. So one of my favorites, you know, I'm a big San Francisco Giant fan, and I also root for your team, the Niners. So I picked them to win it. And I'm going to stick with it. But their defense has got to pick it up, like the KC defense has picked it up.
Good call, Richie. Good call.
Debo and CMC are crucial to whatever they're going to do this week. I believe that it's no one guy. I think they're going to need a balanced attack to be able to beat this team.
I think they're going to need everybody.
Yeah.
George Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, McCaffrey. I think they need all Pistons.
It's all hands
firing.
on deck.
All Pistons firing in this engine, man. They need it all. They're going to have to score some more. You cannot give up possessions. Baltimore comes out in that AFC Championship game, goes 3-and-out right away. Right away. They're like, damn. KC goes out and scores a 7-0. Now, Baltimore responded, but KC really controlled the tempo in the first half. I believe they had the ball for over 20 minutes in that first half against Baltimore. Completely took them out of their game plan. Kansas City, even in Super Bowl 54, for the most part, I mean, they held the ball for 33 minutes in that game in Super Bowl 54, so they controlled the clock. But especially in that first half, they went on long clock-eating drives. Kansas City will do that. This isn't the Mahomes, the Tyreek Hill, boom, boom, boom. Now, they can do it with MVS. They can do it at times with Skylar Moore. But Kansas City will love the control tempo and keep Brock Purdy off the field. So you got to maximize your offensive possessions. It's going to be a long day with Mahomes on the other side. Let's go to BPA. BPA, what's happening?
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Morning.
You know, that last caller, I don't normally comment on other callers, was pretty smart caller about sort of the arcs of their seasons, you know, changing. Niners after the Ravens and all that. But I think I just can't. I'm kind of going in realistic. I don't ever recall going to a Super Bowl with the Niners with this little confidence in the defense. I mean, when the head coach is calling out effort issues in the NFC Championship game, that's bad. That the defense couldn't summon the wherewithal to get it up for the NFC title game. And so, yeah, you just hope that there's something, you know, that they can coach it up and come up with like some sort of innovative game plan defensively versus what they did in the last 2 playoff games where they came out obvious, prone, defensive. And, yeah, that's the hope. But I don't have a lot of confidence that Wilkes has it in him. So
One fan does have
I know
confidence.
Butcher agrees.
Yeah, I mean, BPA, why do you live your life so worried and scared? But you live.
No,
like,
I'm good. Hey, trust me, I'm good. I'm not scared. But like, yeah,
you said you had low confidence.
I want to win the game.
You know, you said you had.
I want to win. Yeah,
you don't have any confidence.
I have a low confidence in the defense that just gave up 500 yards to Jared Goff. Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable statement.
Detroit had one of the best offenses all of football.
Yeah, it's 500 yards to Jared Goff in an NFC title game. I don't think there's
Jared Goff threw for 4,500 yards this year.
Yeah.
But they are facing Mahomes and Andy Reid. We can agree that we probably, even though Detroit has a very promising and an excellent roster of the personnel is really good offensively. This is Mahomes and Kelsey. I mean, these are legends. These aren't just good players. These are legends.
Who had a better regular season?
What?
Who had a better regular season?
I throw the regular season out the window. This is the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
I can't.
I'll just ask a question.
Well, the answer is this. Did the regular season matter for Kansas City against Miami, against Buffalo, or against the Baltimore Ravens?
Jared Goff they should have won that NFC title game, the Detroit Lions. I mean, they should have won that game. They blew that game.
I like Jared Goff. We can all acknowledge, like, there's Goff, and then there's a couple of steps up.
I'm not saying he's on the same level as Mahomes.
I mean, they're not even.
But he had a better year than Mahomes. Hell, he had a better. In the playoffs, Goff was flawless.
I could poll 100 fans and say, "Hey, who do you fear more?"
No, of course you're going to
game?
fear more. You're going to fear Mahomes more. That's not the question, though. But what I'm not going to do going into the Super Bowl game. It is what it is. One team's going to win. One team's going to lose. It's for all the marbles, and we're playing in the damn Super Bowl. And yeah, we got to go through Mahomes. But damn it, this is the same Mahomes. Well, he's a little different. But you had him down 10 in Super Bowl 54. And I've got a better quarterback this time around.
Yes.
I got better weapons outside. Brandon Ayuk is an upgrade from Emmanuel Sanders. Debo's better than Debo we saw his rookie year. So why the hell am I going to go into this Super Bowl game fearing? They should be fearing Brock Purdy in this offense.
No, I think
they should be fearing Christian McCaffrey. The hell, I'm sick of going into every week. We go into this fear factor. Oh my God, we fear Mahomes. We know what it is. Mahomes is great.
It's acknowledging.
But if I get Nick Bosa on his horse coming around the edge, Nick Bosa could disrupt this football game. Like he did in Super Bowl 54. Well, disrupt the game.
I don't think it's like fear. I think it's more like, hey, like, here's what we do well. Here's what they do well. Here's what we don't do well. Here's what they don't do well. And sometimes, like, the weakness right now, one of the weaknesses of the team, I don't know what I'm getting from my defense, quarter to quarter, half to half. And I think in a lot of the previous Super Bowl versions or teams that were trying to get to the Super Bowl under Shanahan, the defense was a little more stout, and I had a little more faith in where they were at and where their strengths are. Like right now, what is the strength of the defense?
Rushing the passer, hopefully.
You
hopefully.
No, I'm saying, like, what has been.
They've been disappointing, but you know what? I'll give them credit. In the second half, they didn't give up a touchdown until there was a minute left in the game.
Well, I was going to say their strength is turning the ball over, making the other team turn the ball over.
Well, they didn't do that, really.
Well, they got a huge fumble.
They got the one fumble.
And then 2 interceptions against Jordan Love.
The one fumble. It's a bad decision by Jordan Love. So they stood up. They stood up. In that second half, Fred Warner, Drake Gorilla played with their hair on fire. Nick Bosa played like a man possessed against the Detroit Lions. So, look, they got to see us, too. Our defense ain't no chumps. We're disappointed because they're not playing up to their capabilities. We've seen this defense play lights-out football at times this season. They have. Believe it or not, they have. They only gave up 17 points a game in their regular season. Now in the playoffs, these get a little hairy, but you know what? When they needed to stop against Green Bay, they got the stops.
They did.
When they needed stops against Detroit, they got stops. Well, they're not going to play perfect football in the playoffs.
No, but I'm looking at this. So, like, there's an injury update. Eric Armstead, he's not practicing. He's dealing with a foot and a knee injury. He's expected to play. He doesn't look like the normal Eric Armstead. And, that's a big issue for this team because they're thin on that defensive line. And he's one of the guys making a lot of money. And so because he makes what he makes, it's harder to round out the rest of that defensive line. We've clearly talked already about Chase Young's effort level. Randy Gregory's been okay, but nothing to write home about. And Javon Hargrave's had a couple of plays here and there, but we need a little more. And so, I think that going into this matchup, I was hoping that our defense throughout the playoffs would kind of show up a little more and they'd be a little more ferocious in terms of that front seven. And it feels like occasionally Bosa, Greenlaw, Warner, and I'm praying outside of that. And that doesn't bode well. I think the best way to beat Mahomes is constant pressure with 4.
And they could get that. They can get that this week against these tackles. These 2 tackles with Kansas City, Jawar Taylor, Donovan Smith. They're both top 8 when it comes to holding penalties, all right? They hold a lot. Bosa's already put it out there to ethos. Hey, when I know on tape, they hold a lot. Donovan Smith and Jawar Taylor can be had on the edges. And then you don't have Thuney playing inside. Joe Thuney, they're all-pro guard. He's out this game with a pec injury. So can you get pressure inside with Javon Hargrave? Let's not act like Kansas City lit the world on fire in these playoffs. They didn't score against Baltimore in the second half. They got shut down.
No.
They got shut down. The run game got shut down. Their pass game got shut down. They hung on for dear life. All right? Let's not act like this offense is world beaters. This 49ers defense can show up and get pressure on Mahomes, and I do believe they'll do a better job of stopping the run against Pacheco. Their run game's a little more predictable, but now, can they get on the edges with some of their guys? Absolutely. That's a problem. With the jet sweeps and everything, getting on the edge, chipping our edge rushers. We got to clean that up. You got to clean that up. But you know what? I'm not. Like, Mahomes is great. He's all-time great. But this team ain't the greatest team I've ever seen.
No.
They don't got the greatest weapons I've ever seen.
No.
I'm not up here pooping my pants saying, oh, my God, Mahomes every time you shot. You know what? I got Brock 30. I got Brock Purdy, who averages 30 points a game. I got my offense, too. They got to deal with us. They got to deal with the Brady and Shanahan. So, you know what? It is what it is, man. But I'm not. Yeah, there's a fear factor. Mahomes is great. We know that. Yada, yada, yada. But you know what? Steph Curry lost finals before, too. LeBron has lost NBA finals. Tim Duncan lost some finals. Bert lost before. Magic lost before. I mean, losses happen. We can beat the Chiefs. We're going to beat the Chiefs, man.
I'm looking at their receiving core, and Rice is a nice player, a very nice player. I feel like this is one of the easier. In the last 2 weeks, meaning Detroit and Green Bay,
weapons.
Going in, I thought they had better personnel at wide receiver than what Kansas City has. And so that encourages me because I do feel like Diamond Lenoir's playing pretty good ball. Charvarius Ward's been pretty good. And Ambry made a play, you know, in the NFC Championship game. This feels like a better matchup. But when I watch back that Detroit game, I think about how much Laporta got anything he wanted. Now, maybe that was a byproduct of the way they were running the ball, Detroit, or what they were doing schematically to kind of take some pressure off some of those cornerbacks with those wide receivers. I do worry about Kelsey, but I think the wide receiver matchup for these corners is much better this week.
It is, but you know they've got some speed. Rice is coming along here at wide receiver for the kids, and you know what?
And Valdez-Scantling makes plays. I hate to say it.
Brian Baldinger mentioned Jair Brown, the rookie out of Pitt State. He said that's a player who's flying under the radar, and I do think he's a very important player because he may get matched up on Kelsey at times.
That's a tough match.
He's going to have to play the deep third at times, the deep middle as a safety. You know what? He's struggling. He's struggling a little bit. Tackling, and that's the one thing we haven't talked about yet this week. The Niners got to tackle. 4-yard catches have to be 4-yard catches. They can't turn into 10-yard catches. You have to be able to tackle, get these dudes on the ground, and make them work for every single inch. But Jair Brown's got to tackle, and he's got to close some of those gaps, especially on pass plays. I think about the 3rd 18, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jair Brown, man, step up. Let's go.
I mean, how about the 3rd and 12 run play where everybody's laying back? Like, there were a variety of 3rd down plays. The defense just was really bad. That's undeniable. And I mean, when you bring up deep 3rd down plays, then I think of Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, which sucks. But no, you're right on the tackling. There's no doubt they're going to have to wrap up better, and that's where I look at Isaiah Pacheco. In the playoffs, he's averaging about 24 touches a game and about 100 yards. He's a guy who will run through multiple tackles, so it's going to have to be gang tackling.
Yeah, no doubt, and he runs hard, and he ran hard last year in the Super Bowl.